The Meitei-Kuki conflict in Manipur completes a year on May 3rd. But for the people on the state's border, there is another threat closing in. With the rise in the number of illegal immigrants and the ongoing war in Myanmar, the unfenced border has become one of India's biggest security nightmares. The week looks at the lives of the people facing two wars.
We are on the Indo-Myanmar border. This is ground zero. This is Faiko village, the last mile connectivity from the Indian side. If we go across, Myanmar starts. There are border pillars. There is, however, absolutely no fencing. A lot of people for daily activities from these refugee camps we see on our left are traveling to the Myanmar side for their livelihood. More than 2,000 people are living here. Women, lots of children, elderly, and of course, young men.
For the longest time, the close ethnic bonds between the population on both sides of the border belied the importance of guarding this strategically significant stretch. Over the past few seasons, though, the entry of illegal immigrants, arms, drugs, and threats from insurgents has been supplemented by fast advancing rebel forces in Myanmar and a looming China, making it one of the most critical yet neglected international boundaries in the country.
We are near pillar number 99. This is Indian territory. Right behind, when you see these two trees, they are in Myanmarese territory. You can hear the sound of the jungles, of insects, of animals here right behind us. This is how difficult it is going to be to actually create a fence on the India-Myanmar border. Interestingly enough, India-Myanmar border is the only international border which is not disputed. All the other borders still have had some part of it that has remained under dispute. However, this has actually been not under dispute. However, what we see is a completely unfenced, porous border. The movement has been completely free across these jungles. As you see, it's extremely easy for people to move. When we talk of the free movement regime being stopped, this is how tough it is to really stop people from coming over. Refugees who are coming in hordes since last year, at least 60 to 70% of the refugees that we see in Sanka, Lok and the nearby Kuki refugee camps have come over the last 1 year.
The Myanmar border has become one of India's biggest security nightmares, and Manipur has become its first casualty. As many as 6,973 Myanmar immigrants have entered Manipur illegally as of April 12. Of this, 652 have been pushed back, 12 are in judicial custody or children's homes, and 6,309 are staying in temporary shelters near the border. State authorities have till now captured biometrics of 6,306 people. They have been given identity cards that say Myanmarese refugee and display their camp number and location, permanent address in Myanmar, birth date and identification marks.
We have with us Myanmarese Buddhist refugee women. Whole lot of them you can see here. The government has issued identity cards to them. You can see that it's written Myanmarese refugees. Most of these women have come along with their children. Some of them are even graduates or they were pursuing engineering in Myanmar. Some of them were dropped out of school. Their fathers were either cultivators or working in some very small scale industries. With the internal situation worsening in Myanmar and the security situation completely going out of control with firing and bombs on their houses, all these women with very, very small children are here taking shelter in Indian territory, and the government is trying to provide them ration, education in schools that have been set up in the refugee camps.
Mortar shelling and drone strikes are happening not far from this border stretch. There is an ongoing war between the Myanmar junta and ethnic rebel groups, and vast swathes of Myanmar territory have fallen to these rebel forces. This has direct implications for Manipur and other northeastern states. The process of officially demarcating the porous stretches of the India-Myanmar border is yet to begin. Senior Home Ministry officials said the survey department will be roped in and consultations will be held with all stakeholders, especially state governments, before the fencing work begins. Meanwhile, within Manipur, hearts have been divided as the Meitei-Kuki conflict completes a year. The valley-based Meiteis do not set foot in the hills, and the Kukis do not cross the so-called buffer zones created to deploy central paramilitary forces to rein in violence. There exist islands of peace on both sides, as children go to school, shops are open, and crowds throng the farmer markets. But beneath the veneer of peace is the unpleasant reality of nearly 60,000 internally displaced people who continue to live in uncertainty in relief camps on both sides. Every night, young boys step out to guard their villages in the hills and valley against unknown threats. Building new fences and removing imaginary ones is the only way forward for Manipur as the Union Home Ministry increases efforts to ward off threats to the people of India. This might require the North and South Bloc to go back to the drawing board to map out once again where they need to climb up or down to set things right.